Welcome back to our next episode of lecture series. Today we will discuss about astrobiology, which is a new, exciting and extremely developing area of science that deals with the question of the origin of life, the evolution of humans and the division of life in this world. Are we alone in this universe? Is one of the most terrifying questions in astrobiology. In order to find out why life on Earth is so unique and exceptional, we need to discover about the origin and evolution of life. The planet on which we live orbits a single star, which is one of about 200 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And our own galaxy is probably one of many billions of galaxies throughout the universe. Honestly, we don't know how many galaxies there are in the universe. It may be something on the order of 100 billion galaxies, maybe more. But if you think about it, there are 200 billion stars alone in our galaxy. Is there life on other planets? And that is how astrobiology is concerned with a question for which we do not have an answer yet. Though scientifically it looks like a reasonable question to ask, ironically, as the spacecraft improved and as our cameras improved, we began to see details. Details from the spacecraft made people began to see valley networks on the surface of Mars, outflow channels that indicates liquid water on the surface of the planet. And now we know quite conclusively that there was abundant liquid water on the surface of Mars previously. Liquid water is essential for life as we know it. So, the presence of liquid water in the early history of Mars suggests that this is a planet that may have been habitable for life. This is the remarkable image of Jezero crater on Mars, where we can see an ancient Martian river flowing out into a crater. Beyond Mars, there is also evidence of life in Enceladus, a tiny moon of the planet Saturn. And there is evidence that there are geysers erupting from the south pole of this moon, throwing out water and other elements into space. The Cassini spacecraft that flew through these plumes discovered different elements like silicate, sodium, water, carbon, and also methane. When we speak about elements which create suitable atmosphere for life to exist, there comes to our mind one of the most important experiments conducted in 1952 by the scientists Harold Urey and Stanley Miller, who were interested in the origin of life, and they carried out an experiment to simulate an early Earth atmosphere. Let's see how the experiment works. They had an ingenious apparatus where they got some water boiling away inside a flask, being circulated into another container that's got an electrical discharge apparatus. And this electrical discharge is discharging across an ancient simulated Earth atmosphere. And they circulated this water round and round. After a period of time, once it had been electrically sparked, they found that the gases in this container transformed themselves into amino acids. In this simple experiment, these scientists managed to create the building blocks of life. In astrobiology, we frequently hear the term habitability. Let's see what makes a planet habitable. Life needs liquid water as a solvent for biochemistry. We also need a planet where there is a source of energy in order to carry out these particular biochemical functions. Finally, we need physical conditions that are suitable for life and that are within the boundaries for life to be able to persist on the planetary surface. One of the most enduring concepts in astrobiology is the habitable zone. This is the zone around a star where conditions are suitable for liquid water to form on the surface of a planet. The habitable zone in our own solar system lies between Venus and Mars. So, of course, our own planet is within the habitable zone. In empirical terms, it's that zone where the solar heating combined with the greenhouse effect is sufficient enough to create bodies of liquid water on the surface of a planet. It is evident that the habitable zone will vary depending upon the star. For very hot stars that give out more energy, the habitable zone will be further away. And for very cool stars, the habitable zone will be much further in. So, the habitable zone will vary depending on the temperature and, of course, on the age of the star. One has to be a little careful with this concept of the habitable zone because liquid water can exist outside this zone as well in particular environments that we'll discuss about later. The moon of Jupiter, Europa, is about the same size as our own moon and it has a near icy surface, a crust of ice under which there seems to be a liquid water ocean. How does that liquid water ocean get there when it's far outside the habitable zone? Like very far away from the star where it's very cold in the outer solar system. Well, this liquid water ocean seems to be formed by tidal buckling. The huge gravitational force on Jupiter buckles Europa and creates heat in the center of the moon, which eventually melts the ice and creates the liquid water ocean. So, here's an example of the moon that seems to have liquid water despite the fact that it's outside of the classical habitable zone. But nevertheless, that doesn't distract us from the fact that the habitable zone is still a useful concept in astrobiology. We just have to be careful about the way we see it and the possible exceptions. It's no good having a planet where conditions are suitable for life for a short period and then it becomes too extreme. We need conditions for life that endure possibly over billions of years, and this leads to another concept called the continuously habitable zone. It is that zone around a star where not only is there liquid water, but also there are conditions suitable to live for about several billion years. This is the environment that allows evolution, proliferation, and finally to evolve into multicellular life and intelligence. So we need conditions that are suitable for life for billions of years. Some people think that moon is very important for a planet to be habitable. If we had no moon, the climate would vary so wildly it would be really difficult for life to become sustained on the planetary surface. In this video, we have learned what makes a planet habitable is a matter of great discussion. But at the very least, we would expect to need conditions where life has water, an energy source, and where elements grow and replicate are being satisfied. These conditions allow us to assess other planets as a device for existence, and we can vividly use these criteria to assess planets orbiting other stars as well. Thank you. See you in the next video.